Hey, good evening. It is Friday, December 29th. Welcome to the latest episode of A Day in the Life of with Jeff Bosley. I'm sitting here with some Jameson, a tumbler, and a whiskey stone, mourning the death of Pauline and I's dog, Frank. And per the, I don't know, passive advice of the writer, director, editor, actor Kevin Smith in all of his podcasts. Podcasts are cheap, easy, free. Sometimes they're therapy, and sometimes there's an audience out there for them. So I figured, why not do it today? So yeah, death. Today's episode, really uplifting already right off the bat. But death sucks. For those of you that don't know, Pauline and I, in less than 30 days, Pauline's my fiance, in less than 30 days have had to put down our two different pets. We are at 60%, 66% losses. It's messed up. It's a really messed up world. I don't know about you guys, but growing up, I remember watching the movie with Tom Hanks, Turner and Hooch, and when, spoiler, when Hooch dies, I remember still crying during that. But you can watch Predator or Rambo or any other movie in the world where there's massive slaughters of humans, and you don't really flinch unless it's a good acting death scene. God, Jameson is so good. So yeah, it's a weird duality. I was just talking to my sister on the phone when I took my dog Izzy, our last remaining pet, out for a walk, and I compared it to war. I said this for some reason. This Frank is the dog we just had to put down today. I'm not a cat person, but seeing the pain Pauline went through to put her cat down, it really hurt me a lot. But for some reason, Frank, since it was her and I's dog, it was my first dog since Izzy. So I don't know. I don't know what reasoning it had more weight. Because Pauline's cat wasn't mine before the relationship or anything like. I don't know what it is. Because obviously no pet is more important than the other. But for some reason, impacts are different. But for some reason, this one really hit me hard. I've seen death in when I was in special forces. I've seen plenty of death as a firefighter, and obviously all human. And it's interesting. And I made a comment to my sister, and she's wise. She's like my little Buddha. But she said, I'm going to bastardize her wise words, but it was something along the lines of, she said something like, well, in combat, there's this undertone of expectation that death will come. And it's messed up. She's right. When you sign up to be in a combat job in the military, it's not accepted like a machismo thing, but there's an understanding that you signed up to dish out death and possibly die yourself. And for some reason, it makes it. I mean, the deaths I've seen were obviously sad. Some of them, especially as a firefighter, they were complete strangers. And there's a whole bunch of backstories to those, but there's a sadness because another human being died, and there was a sadness because I truly felt I could have done more. So there was a little bit of regret. And then in the military, having brothers in arms die, or I mean, it doesn't. It even takes a stranger in the military can die, and it impacts me because we have this. I think anybody in the military would agree, but we have this inherent automatic bloodline just by being in the military, and it's not a higher than thou thing. It's just this weird bond. Um, you know, um, no disrespect to a support person, but a support person could be just transporting from point A to point B and die during an IED attack. And just because they signed up, there's this empathy, this understanding, this bond. And then especially in the combat arms, there's a absolute bond, especially when you get into your own specialties. Like for me in the Green Berets and the Special Forces, there's a huge bond and an understanding. Complete stranger, Green Berets die daily, and I get posts about it or I get emails, and that crushes me. I don't even know these guys, but I just know that they're Green Berets, and I blindly, maybe to a fault, feel pain for their loss, for their family's loss, for their mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, daughters, sons. So it's weird. But there's something about pets, it's weird. I don't know if it's the blind innocence or the loyalty they have. I saw a meme. I don't know if my dad made it or somebody else made it, but I remember there's some meme going around that says something like, lock your wife and your dog and your dog in a trunk for 8 hours. At the end of 8 hours, who's happy to see you? And it's your dog. I've never owned a cat outside of the secondary ownership of Pauline's cat, so I always will speak. It's kind of like in books, like older books, when you read them, they have to modernize it with a disclaimer at the beginning. We're talking about, you know, um, during this book, we're always going to use the male pronouns, but it doesn't mean women X, Y, and Z. So I say that with dogs in regards to cats. I've just never owned a cat, so I'll always say dogs. That's my default. Um, but yeah, you open that trunk, dog will be happy as shit to see you. You lock a human in a trunk for longer than 5 seconds, and they will not be happy to see you. So there's just something about, for me, dogs. Excuse me, and their blind loyalty. It's truly interesting. And I mean, I'm a grown-ass man. I'd like to think I've done some pretty badass things. I would like to think I'm very, I think this is a made-up word, dualistic. I'm very proud of my, I know this is the right word, I am very proud of my duality. I can be a cyborg of emotionless evil, and at the same time, a huggable teddy bear. And I will not lie, Frank's death crushed me today. It's pretty messed up. I don't know why. I mean, he was pushing 13. We'd done everything we can. He was old and getting to the point where he was in pain. You know, everything points to it was the right thing to do. But there's just this weird. I don't know. Dogs. They give you this. Dogs. They are at your mercy. You know, regardless of your thoughts, and if you. I mean, some people train them on a farm. Some people uh, you know, raise them like coddle little princesses in Hollywood, you know, who knows? But I mean, no matter what, no matter what the dog, whether it's that farm dog or otherwise, they depend on you. I mean, they're at our mercy, and it it's interesting because I know. I mean, I'm not an idiot. Dogs are animals. They can't think the way we as humans, we attach a rationalization to them, like, oh, look how happy he is. Dogs don't know happy. I mean, that's not accurate, but I do strongly feel that dogs learn that we provide them shelter, we provide them food. I mean, if you feed the dog during the same time every night, after the same routine, they get a pattern. They realize that you're providing them food. So it's, excuse me, the inverse of that is to say that if they understand for us that we provide them food and shelter, that it kind of hurts to think that maybe they associate pain and suffering with something we've done too. You know, like, why can't you fix this? Why are you doing this to me? And that's the soul crushing part. You know, I don't care if you have a farm dog or a little princess lap dog, to have them look at you, you know, even at the most primal sense, they'll pause and look at you like why is this happening? I think at the most primal lizard brain level, an animal can somehow question, why is this happening? What do I do to avoid it? I mean, that's, I don't care at the most cellular level. If something's being burned or having pain inflicted, they'll retract. And a pet wants that. And if they can't retract, they look to us to make that pain stop. So it's interesting, death. And then, I was talking to an attorney today, and he said it. Pauline and I said it today too. With animals, you can't tell them the why. You can't tell them you've done what you can, and all these things. But at least humans, you can express it, and there will be circumstances where, if a human is in a vegetative state, etc., where they're not going to hear you. But, for your peace of mind, you can, tell them why you're doing something. But animals, you can't, it's weird. I would like to think if you're a good person, that blind loyalty they give you is inversely proportionate to this blind responsibility you're wanting to give to them. And when you feel like you haven't done that for them, you feel like you've betrayed them. It's interesting. I don't know. Death talk, not the best podcast topic in the world, huh? Try to be a little bit more diverse. What else happened today? Man, no, it's just been pretty much all death. Hopefully, if my parents are listening to this, Mom, Dad, stop listening now. You'll understand why later, but at this point, stop listening. Pauline and I are trying to figure out a way to maybe do a quick road trip to see my parents. Haven't seen them for a little over a year. Haven't casually visited them for over 2 years. The last time I saw him was during my father was having a cancer scare, and so that wasn't exactly the most vacation-esque visit. Excuse me, sorry, it's getting late. But yeah, parents are interesting. It's I don't know if anybody out there has understood this, but there's this weird transition where, growing up, whether it was when your parents were providing you with tutelage or vacation or education or work ethic, they were the parent figures. There's this, they're the parent, you're the child figure, but there's a point where as time goes on, those roles almost invert. And it's a slow inversion. It's not blatantly overnight, but there's a point where you realize, holy shit, my parents aren't superhuman. They do need me. They do need outside help. I mean, I'm very fortunate in that my father is very good with finances. He had a very good job as an emergency room physician, so they've set themselves up to have a good life after retirement and knowing how they age. My dad's very pragmatic about the process of aging. He's not a fool to, what's going to go down. But it's interesting to, just ponder your parents getting weak, you having to go to them, go visit them. It's an interesting debate. Do you owe them time, not out of guilt or debt, but kind of in the vein of, the least you can do after all they've done for you is give them, a second of your time, is the theory. And, my parents definitely have done a lot for me. The least I can do is try to take 2 or 3 days and drive up and say hi to them. They're not asking for anything in return for what they've done for me. And I don't know what it's like. I don't have kids. I don't know what it's like to have a child, and everybody I've told to, it changes how you think, it changes how you feel, it changes how you look at children. It's it's interesting. A commercial for SEAL Team just came on CBS. So for anybody listening to this point, I'm on episode 13 of season 1. It's going to be a really, really good episode. It's going to smack you in the face with the realities of special operations deployments. And I just forgot my character's name. I play Steve Porter. So if you're interested, let's see if it's out yet. See when it's airing. I don't think it is got an air date yet. Oh, actually, yeah, it airs 24th of January. So it's good to know. January 24th, my episode airs. So a little under a month. Good to know. Yeah, it's an interesting. That's a whole nother side topic. Is a Green Beret playing a Navy SEAL. You know, there's a Green Beret movie coming out called 12 Strong, and it's about specifically Green Berets in some of the few initial battles in Afghanistan, and significantly shortly after 9/11, and basically the long short of it is that Navy SEALs consulted on the movie. Now, tactically, and how to hold a gun, X, Y, and Z. Yeah, there's we can all cross over, but as far as telling this story, they literally don't have a dog in the fight. So it's a little frustrating. I don't have first-hand knowledge, but I have like first and a half hand knowledge as far as this movie and them using Navy SEALs and not Green Berets. And it's truly frustrating because obviously I was a Green Beret on the TV show SEAL Team. And here's my argument to avoid hypocrisy. Tactically, there are some consultants in there, former Green Berets and Rangers. And, tactically, they offer their consultation and expertise. It is also a fictional show. And they also do have a Navy SEAL consultant to probably be the final check in the system. So, again, fictional show, tactics, more or less accuracy, and then they still have a Green Beret or a Navy SEAL on staff, so to speak. But this Green Beret movie, as far as I understand, not having any Green Berets involved. There's apparently one Green Beret in it, but the one thing about this industry is being in a movie sometimes is slightly misleading. For all I know, he's in it for like 2 seconds. And I do know one thing, if you're in a movie for like 2 seconds, you have no say in how the movie's made. So even though there is or was or may be a Green Beret in 12 Strong, there's no saying he had any say in this, how this movie was made. So Fern and I have heard from pretty reliable intelligence, 12 Strong, I will not see it. I'm very offended. So that's that. Brought me, oh yeah, an ad popped up on Facebook for SEAL Team, and then I went on a tangent. So we've talked about death, we've talked about parents. What else can we talk about? Yeah, shit sucks, man. It's weird. And again, I know this is just a dog. I mean, this is like John Wick level vengeance. Like if somebody killed my dog the way I'm feeling right now on a planned, calculated, appropriate death, if that's how I feel now, I can't imagine how I'd feel if somebody killed my dog like John Wick style. I would probably go John Wick on the mob. I completely see where that character comes from. For those of you who haven't seen John Wick, basically, it's a funny, hearing it out loud makes it sound like you're like almost a Saturday Night Live skit, but when you see it, they did it so well, it's believable. But basically, Keanu Reeves plays just kind of like a down and out beat mercenary or killer for hire, and something goes wrong, they retaliate, kill his dog, and it sounds stupid on paper, but anybody that's lost a dog, you realize there's this weird personal pain if somebody consciously killed your dog for vengeance. Man, yeah, the way I feel now with Frank's loss, Wick's my dog, I would totally empathize with the plight of John Wick. I would understand laying waste to the mafia underworld for anybody that dared mess with my dogs. I don't know if it's an Idaho thing, you don't mess with your family, your dogs, or your truck. But yeah, I completely empathize with John Wick at this point. It's interesting. But yeah, I don't know how today's podcast can be remotely entertaining. I don't know, for those of you who've lost something, someone, or a pet, maybe this is cathartic. I know I've said some very intelligent sounding things with a lot of words that have multiple syllables, so that's always a bonus. As tired as I am, and as pretty much just tired. I don't drink that much. When I do, I barely get any impact. The thing is, however, I haven't slept a full night of sleep since Wednesday night, and it's Friday night, something like that. I'm definitely on a point of sleep deprivation that's definitely affecting me. So I need to hit the bed, and then hit the gym, and then Pauline and I are going to possibly attempt that. Attempt that surprise road trip to see my family, or my parents. We shall see. I gotta go see my sister and her family. What is it about holidays that has this automatic guilt where you have to see your family? I mean, I get it. I don't know. It sucks because they say money can't, fix problems, or money doesn't buy happiness. Yeah, I mean, I get the premise of that, but, it does fix a lot of problems. It's you don't hear everybody complaining about having money and not having enough money to visit family. Wealth can buy those kind of conveniences, and it's an interesting first world problem when you hear people complain. And they, you look at a lot of famous people, and just follow their Instagram, and you're like, holy shit, if the things you're doing right now cost so much money. It's weird what people take for granted, I guess. So I don't know. Watching how so many automatic ads show up on your Facebook feed. I'm watching one on stunts. This has Gal Gadot. And yeah, she's athletic, but I'm a little biased. Pauline's better. And here's one with Tom Cruise. Love him or hate him, the dude works his ass off. There is an argument that he shouldn't be taking stuntmen out of work for shots that aren't necessarily needed to have it be him. But, to each his own. And here's Keanu Reeves doing John Wick 2. Perfect example. Why not? I mean, fuck it. Do what you want. I think it's impressive, to be honest with you. I don't know. I think that's awesome. I think actors would do their own stunts. It's pretty badass. And if the shot doesn't require the actor or actress, put the stuntman in if it's going to risk the production, because Danny Trejo had an interesting I think it was an interview. He talked about the ego of actors taking on stunts that end up, if that actor injures himself, the production shuts down. That means catering, carpenters, small jobs, big jobs, they all are out of work. So if your ego is costing the film crew, cast and crew work, put your ego aside. But for the cool close-ups, I'd kill to be Tom Cruise. I mean, the kid in me wants to be a stuntman. Those are badass and those are fun. But I mean, also production value and looking at it from a producer standpoint, you got to make sure the longevity and look at the big picture of the film and make sure the film gets made. Because Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 6, I think, just recently broke his ankle, and production shut down. So some poor carpenter that was working on it, now he's out of work, or he has to look for another TV or gig. So all because of a shot that was pretty much a shot that was far enough away you couldn't tell it was Tom Cruise, thus supporting Danny Trejo's argument that it didn't need to be him. Yeah, anyway. Anybody know what a whiskey stone is? Anybody use those in whiskey? The theory is it's basically a stone you put in the freezer and you use it in place of ice, and it won't dilute your drink, yet it'll keep it cold. They last all of but 3 seconds, so whiskey stones are stupid. Ice is better, but then it dilutes your drink, so boo-hoo. First world problems. What else can stimulate my conversation here as I scroll through the internet world of Facebook? Oh, that's badass. Oh, I'm on a book cover. Wow. So yeah, I'm on a Fight or Diet book cover. You'll see it January 6th at the Los Angeles Fit Expo. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Oh man, these BMXers and Jesus. No. So there's this, those pool kind of areas that have like emptied pools where skaters and BMX tricksters go and do tricks and stuff. This guy was in one of those pools and it's surrounded by a fence with like spikes, basically. This guy went and did a backflip. He's on a bike and did a backflip, overshot and went to the fence, which has basically all these spiked rails. And statistically, as he flew over that, he should have been impaled. I mean, like, 98% chance those spikes should have gone through major parts of his body. His thighs literally went between the spikes and he slid down, completely missing everything. Dude should play the lottery. Absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, where are we at? 30 minutes. I've talked about death, visiting family, and a bunch of random stuff to do with the film industry. Might be it. I'll just call it about 30 minutes. I don't want to turn this into a rambling podcast, but I do want to, for the sake of me and for people that have supported me, current fans, potential fans. I do want to keep these short, sweet, and concise, but also make them worth people's time. So I guess that's it. Since this isn't live, I have no direct interaction with y'all, so I will just hope somebody listens to this. Thank you for your time. It's been 30 minutes. If anything, it's at least been cathartic to me. It's always nice just to chat. So this is on iTunes, so please like, subscribe, and review, share with your friends, and I'll be a little bit better about doing these podcasts more regularly. Scott and I, we have a podcast, a sub-sect of Day in the Life of. It's called Whiskey and BS. It's a double entendre for bullshit and Bosley and Seagrin. And we need to get back on. And then my good friend from Colorado Springs, Colorado, Alicia, her and I have Hippie and the Caveman. And that's always a fun little podcast because her and I are best friends, but also very extremely opposites. handling or extremely opposite opinions of how we handle life. So it's truly interesting. So thank you for your time. Thank you for listening, and enjoy. Take care. Be safe. Have a good New Year's Eve if you partake in festivities. And I appreciate your time. All right. Good night.